Welcome back, guys. We are looking at the second boss in Wing 1 for this updated guide to the Molten Core raid for Warcraft Rumble. Before we get into it, guys, make sure you give a huge shout out, and I will as well, to Warcraft Rumble for sponsoring today's video. Thank you guys so much for working with us. Now, once again, we are updating all of our raid videos because the raids have been slightly tuned and adjusted and buffed in some cases, but the mechanics are the same, but there are also some different strategies you can use, as well as some key bosses. So I am redoing all of them for you guys. So if you want to see the full guide breakdown, make sure you look at the playlist on my channel, but also like and subscribe if you want to get all of the best Warcraft Rumble content headed your way. Now, this one is going to be Magmadar. Now, Magmadar is the two-headed dog, if you will, with all the other two-headed dogs in the fight. Now, I am, like I mentioned in my first video, which I posted the other day, I always look for leaders that aren't utilized anywhere else. So this is probably the first time you're actually going to see somebody recommend none other than Blood Mage Thalnos for this boss fight. I have basically always used Blood Mage Thalnos for this fight because he isn't used anywhere else, and not just not used anywhere else, but like he's not even good anywhere else. So I make sure I utilize him. Now, the two talents you can utilize, you can see I'm using the Drain Life, which is gaining lifesteal for him. It helps survivability a little bit, but then also the main one that you're going to probably want to use is Bane. I was truly just testing the lifesteal to see if it helped give more survivability. It really didn't. He does enough damage with Bane, which is going to be playing a spell, increases his attack speed by 30% for 5 seconds. You're going to be playing so many spells between healing him or doing the Arcane Blast or just executing on all the puppy dogs that he's going to be getting enough attack speed to burn down things before they even attack him. So use Bane, don't use the lifesteal. This was just a test. But let's go and jump straight into it, and I can talk about the mechanics. I've seen other people use Old Murkai as an option. Actually, you're going to see my partner in this video use Old Murkai, which is actually pretty dope. I actually have never seen somebody use Old Murkai in this one either. But once again, this is basically one of those bosses that you don't have to use a certain leader. So whatever you have that's a decent level and that can basically withhold the onslaught of puppet dogs coming at you is going to be a fair bet. You are going to want a few key pieces here. I personally love running my ghoul as well as execute. I use my excuse me, my witch doctor almost all the time. Literally almost every single fight I'm using my witch doctor. Now, once again, this is pre-recorded on my phone, so I don't, unfortunately, I had my phone muted for literally all of these fights except for Ragnaros. So massive L. All the awesome and epic music and sound effects I didn't have going. But anyway, so this is the deck that I utilize. Let's go ahead and jump straight to it. And like I said, my partner is using Old Murkai, which was a very interesting choice, but you're going to see in the video actually proved to be very, very helpful with the just onslaught of additional tunes and minis he had coming his way. So the biggest thing is you can see that there's several dogs in the beginning, and they will actually just keep spawning. So you want to make sure that at one point you try to kill them all at the same time. Like that is like the true mechanic, is that you try to kill all of the mini dogs at the same time. Otherwise they will just sort of slowly pull apart and they can get to your tower and really be really annoying, because if they die, they will inevitably be resurrected at your tower and then just keep attacking your tower, which you're also going to see in this video. But realistically, as long as you can defend your home base and get one of the 4 lanes to the main boss, the main puppy dog here in the middle, then you're going to be able to burn it down. So I just want to make sure like everyone is aware that is the mechanic, but let's go ahead and look at how we ran this. Like I said, there's 4 lanes, 2 towers on the farthest side, and then 2 middle lanes that you can share, and with some gold treasure chest on the far right lanes as well. Pretty obvious start. You just want to make sure you get that chest as early as you can. There are some fire elementals. I don't think I actually got this first one. Yeah, I definitely didn't. Now, a rough start. I didn't actually get my ghoul up front, so I had to like use my execute early on. I did get my ghoul early enough to like space it out, and you can see that he's doing the similar strat. Yeah, this is a rough strat, a rough beginning for my deck. I have no tank at the front, but it is a great test for the lifesteal. So you can see I'm going to go ahead, and he does a ton of damage to the tower. So between the two, we should be okay to burn it down. But the fire elemental definitely makes it a little bit more painful. You can see I'm just fully committing to keeping him alive as much as I can, but the fire inevitably does kill him, which is a little triggering. But you just want to make sure you also keep your gold, your iron miner in the middle with some minis. You can see that as soon as I paused it, that there was a unbound bunch of minis that were dropped on my miner by the boss, so that sort of stinks. Basically, you just keep feeding your right lane with as much power as you can, and then build up a nice push to the boss from this angle. I'm using my mouse as if you can see it, but basically you push from the far right lane all the way over, and then keep your middle lane at least entertained with. I usually run it with my witch doctor, and which is enough to clear these minis, and then my my miner. And make sure you keep the gold on cooldown. Ideally, you would do what my partner did, which is you use the Defiling Bandits with the gold trait, so that way you can actually get double the gold for this, but I did not, so I apologize to my partner for that. But you can see that him using the deck that he's using, he just constantly has minis going out, whereas I have a slow pushing deck where I have a dedicated tank in my ghoul, and I want my blood mage Thanos sort of building up higher levels by the time he gets to the base. You can see that he actually has a mini on the base, and we're just sort of cycling our spells. I try to get my Arcane Explosion closer to the boss before I use my executes, but you can see the execute is doing a ton of damage to the bosses as well as the dogs. So that dog is getting ready to go down, and now we get some free punches on the boss with our Blood Mage Thanos, and we basically push him into phase 2. Phase 2, he just resurrects all his dogs if they were dead, and you basically restart. Except you don't lose your towers conveniently. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that you will slowly see the dogs sort of go towards the bases. Your middle lane is always safe, so don't worry about that. Your middle lane is always safe. The dog will not come all the way down to your home base, but they will get stuck at your base, like your side bases, which can be very annoying. So there you go. We have another Blood Mage going with 2 ghouls now, with a pretty hefty amount of adds. So you can see we've got execute going, nice levels going as well. You can see I'm sort of toggling which ones I want to go with. You can see the lifesteal is not enough on that first Blood Mage Thanos. Like, it was basically nothing. I would have wanted that attack speed from Bane in order to really get more damage off. So learn from my test and don't use that spell. But you can see that my partner was also doing well. We push into phase 3. He kills all the minis around, and he goes to resummon all of his dogs. And then you just rinse and repeat. Pretty straightforward boss. Not really a tank and spank. It much more is a sort of execute the boss down and get a heavy hitter on the boss when you can, which in my case is Blood Mage Thanos. I'm not going to say Blood Mage Thanos is the best leader for this, but it is the one that I have always utilized because he is not needed anywhere else in the raid, so it doesn't hurt you even as a free-to-play player coming into the raids for the first time to practice with Blood Mage Thanos with this deck and actually be able to use him instead of something else. So it is a deck that I just always have available. I got used to using it, and like I said, I use it every single time. And I don't actually, you know what? Outside of doing this the first time, I don't think I've ever actually wiped. Because again, the towers don't reset. You're going to see a lot of the bosses do reset the towers, and that's where the fights get a little hairy. But this is one where it doesn't. So it's pretty hard to wipe on if you can, again, sort of nuke down the boss. Now, if you don't have high enough minis or lower minis than what we're utilizing, you can, of course, just wait for the execute phase or like the overtime where you get more gold and then spam executes that way. Basically, you just want to make sure you have good spells to use on the boss, whether it be Blizzard or execute or Arcane Blast, apparently. But we're actually doing a decent job. Harpies is really, really good for defense as well, along with Witch Doctor. Those are probably the 2 best defensive units in this whole Molten Core raid, not even just this one. You see now we're spamming execute, a few more, and it'll be down. Probably even one more. I got a nice push going, which again isn't necessary. You can see that we could have just cycled execute and probably killed the boss, but we actually do end up getting a little closer before that happens. And there you go. So that's the fight. So very, I don't want to say easy, but straightforward in terms of mechanics. It is, I would say, difficult to mess up. So once you have the general understanding that the dogs will always come back and not to focus them down and basically attack past them. If you want to lure them out with a quill barrel, you could use that mechanic for your advantage as well. But really execute is going to be your saving grace. Now, if they were to buff, or I guess nerf execute for this boss, your goal would still be the same, which would be, well, it would adjust slightly, but basically you would just want a big push of units together to overwhelm the dogs and kill them all at the same time. Because again, they do spawn back decently quick, so keep that in mind as well. But that's it for Wing 1, guys. Both bosses are now down, and once again, thank you so much to Warcraft Rumble for sponsoring today's video. If you want to see more of the bosses taken down and a full breakdown of all those guides, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you download Warcraft Rumble totally for free in the link in the description, as well as the pinned comment of today's video. And I hope to see you guys in a video soon. Take it easy.